Alrighty, yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boys Jack, Michael, Jacob, Mia. They're all doing me a fantastic service. They're giving me that post-match reaction. You probably have grown sick of my voice, grown sick of my jokes, grown sick of almost anything I've said at this stage. I probably had too much Emerson love, too much Hoiberg love, kind of the usual stuff going on during the watch along. So we're going to have some different opinions, some different takes, and just going to sort of recap everything. And I think in a better way of what sort of happened earlier. Good to see already Gabriel won out in Michigan. Good to see you, my friend. He's saying Madison, man of the match, as well as Andrew already joining us in the house. Everybody, please smash the like button, but we're going to make the best use of everybody's time here and sort of just kind of get maybe their first impressions on the game. No need for, to cover everything, but I do kind of want sort of maybe some initial sort of kind of themes or maybe some initial sort of kind of thoughts from everybody, as an introduction. So start to my person next to me, Michael, how are you? And also what's kind of the, your first thought? What's the thing that comes to mind, first when it came to this match?
Yeah, we've talked about it already, right? In the lobby before. But I honestly, like, when I watch our team with 70% possession, 700 passes, 92% completion rate, right? 20 shots on target or whatever. I honestly, I don't know how to behave in front of the TV, because I'm used to sitting on edge. I'm used to being like worried that we are going to concede any second now because we don't have the ball. And right now we have all the ball, right? And we are just playing teams of the park. I know the opposition wasn't like the best, right? And Barcelona in 2 days will be the retest, but still, it's so strange because I'm so relaxed in front of the monitor. It's absolutely lovely to feel that way.
A feeling of relaxation, Jacob. That's not often felt as a Spurs fan. Are you still coming to copes with that?
Yeah, it's nice waking up in the morning, Jack. I think it's tough for Americans sometimes when it's, especially over here, closer to the West Coast. I know, Jack, you got a little easy over there on the East Coast, but for us West Coast folks, sometimes those 5:30 a.m. kickoffs are a little tough to get excited about.
Motivate.
Yeah, so I think it's great, when I wake up and I open my computer and I start watching, then all of a sudden I'm starting to see exciting football. I mean, that first half, it was very exciting. We weren't clinical, but exciting football, man. It's something that I enjoy watching. I'm just glad it feels like the vibes are almost back. I know there's a lot to talk about, but initially, yeah, man, I'm excited for each of these 3 matches that I've woken up for so far. I'm excited for Barcelona. I'll be excited for Brentford as well.
I'm excited for definitely Barcelona, but are you excited already for Brentford, Mia?
Yeah, it's Joe what? How nice it is to just sit and actually enjoy the game of football that we play. It's been so long. I kept saying it. I just was watching Man City all the time because I enjoyed their football much more. It was nice to watch them in like good football. And now we get that feeling, like it was that feeling when you sat down and watched it. Yeah, this is going to be a good game of football. And it's been so long. It reminds me of the meme of the lady from Titanic. It's been 84 years. That's what it's felt like since we've actually enjoyed football. So it's such a nice, refreshing thing to actually enjoy our game of football that that we play.
It's what kind of Michael and I were kind of talking about in the background, where when we were under Jose and Conte, we were more on the edge of our seat, not because the football was always extremely exciting. It was more because you were constantly being threatened by the opposition. Yeah. But then the attacks we had ourselves were sort of those like attacks that get your heart racing, where like you see, 3-4 people sprinting down the wing with all this, time and space. And, if they can get it done, then, you're sort of feeling like you're stealing a win. But then oftentimes we wouldn't. And it's just, I don't know. It's on the edge of your seat kind of stuff, but not really in the type of way that we like it. And this is sort of, the type of performances that Spurs want to see, even if it ended up being more of a basketball game of a 3-4, 4-5 type of scenario. At least we can see some more kind of brilliant football from Spurs. That's for sure.
And what is this thing? Those players in the white shirts, and they're all in that box. It's amazing. When all the players are actually in the box, what can happen? We can score goals. It's amazing, that, isn't it? It's just so nice. You're just like all the nice attacking players in the box, and just like, yes, this is what you want. You want attacking players. You want us to be attacking, not just sitting back waiting to be attacked.
King Hoddle says it warms the soul, and I think that's what we're getting from all the panelists here. Just a quick question, I might just fire back at Jamia though. Like, do you feel like everybody had sort of a chance to score today? That's also something that I thought was kind of a theme today. Like Udoji could have scored, Emerson could have scored, everybody could have scored.
Hulu, Saar, bless him. I was so desperate for him to get a goal. I really was. I'd really love to see Saar get a goal. But yeah, everybody had their chance pretty much, didn't they? Hulu had plenty of chances. Solomon had a chance, but obviously Kane poached it when it was obviously knocked out. And he managed to get that goal. But yeah, everybody seems to have had a chance to get a goal, really.
And Tesla Matakoya, love the name, and he says you can call all the stats, but watching that game, it's as if those Shakhtar players were better. We lose. Interesting point. So I might as well bring up the stats and upset everybody here. We have 32 shots total in the match, 20 on target, 67% possession, 6 corners, 8 big chances is what SofaScore was telling me. I might go to Michael here first. I feel like you could, take a bit from these stats. Just really big numbers, high numbers for Spurs. I mean, do you feel like it's a bit inflated? Do the stats tell us too much? Tell us anything? Should we be a bit hesitant? What do you think?
Yeah, it has to be taken into consideration that the 3 teams that we faced so far in the preseason have been of lower quality, right? Let's be honest, especially the Singapore team, but even Shakhtar and the West Ham's B team, those are teams that are at best at the lower end of the spectrum in the Premier League table, right? But still, the fact that we are capable of dominating a game, because I kid you not, if we played under Conte, I believe that this game against Shakhtar could have ended in a similar scoreline. But the outlook of the game would have been much different. The game, in terms of possession, shots taken, passes completed, would have been much more equal. And we know that the quality of our players is much better than the opposition, right? So I think it's good that the stats reflect that on personal side we are better than the opposition, right? If you get what I mean. And again, because I think it's the second time I'm slating playing on the counter, whatever, right? I don't mind employing that tactic if the opposition is better than you, if you can help them, if you know that you can exploit the weakness, right? What I had issues with is that we played like that against every single opponent that we could, right? That was the thing that I didn't like about playing on the counter against Sheffield United away or in a cup or whatever.
And you and I spoke about sort of scoring the same type of goals, right? Do you feel like Spurs, in this sort of style, we created different types of chances, do you think?
Yeah, because if you look at it, one goal was a penalty kick, which was won by Maddison when we worked the ball into the box. One of them was a cross, which Kane finished with a header. One of them was a long-range shot, which Kane poached. Then the other one was a classic Kane finish, low ball into the corner of the goal, right? And the other one was at the end of the game, the Scarlet goal, right? But when you look at it, those were actually different type of goals, right? If you let's bring in an example for the match against Aston Villa that we won 4-0 2 years ago. Sorry, it was 1 year ago, right? And I believe that Sonny scored 3 and Kulu scored 1, but all of those goals pretty much were from the counter-attack, or when we only had 2 or 3 people near the penalty box and we somehow worked a goal, right? Whereas this time we are literally pushing the opponent into their goal, with masses, with numbers. The wing backs are working their way into the box. The midfielders are working their way into the box. It's so refreshing to see, and it creates different opportunities to score. Whereas, we are really one-trick ponies, basically, in a sense.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Jacob, when you see 8 big chances created, I'm not sure if you're a SofaScore man. I kind of dabble in it every now and again.
I'm a SofaScore man.
8 big chances seems like a lot, for, usually you see around 4 or 5. I feel like, especially during the days when we had Jose and Conte, it did feel like, we had, usually some big chances in a game, but we needed those big chances to work out for us. Whereas when you have 8 to choose from, that's a good sign.
Absolutely. But that's not the only number that really stands out to me, Jack. When you look at the 32 shots. I mean, that reminds West Ham. I remember seeing over 30 shots. I don't remember what we got versus Sea City Sailors or whatever their name is. I don't remember. But the fact that we're putting up this many shots, that's got to be something worth celebrating, if not anything else. I think the fact that we're looking at every single preseason match thus far, we're very much on the attacking foot. I mean, 20 shots on target, 67. Was this our first preseason match with less than 70% of the ball?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's good.
I can give you stats for comparison, just shots and possession, right? Against West Ham, we had 32 shots, 13 on goal, and 73% possession. And against Lion City Sailors, we had 37 shots, 11 on target, 80% possession. And one thing also worth mentioning is that in all three matches, we had around 700 passes with 90% or more completion rate, which is absolutely like ridiculous for that amount of passes, right? Especially when you compare it to last season where we were like, 300 passes and 80% like completion rate or something. It's absolutely mad how like a different side can like bring a completely different outlook on the team, right?
Mm-hmm. I feel like we've been definitely, speaking a lot about sort of the style of play and sort of the themes. And now I kind of want to dive into maybe some of the personnel that were kind of picked in that first half. I might start with you first, Mia. Mia, do you feel like there's anything that we can take or gather from the first half squad being taken? Towards the end of the watch long, I was maybe thinking that you could take a lot from it. But then again, players like Richarlison were not there. Basuma was also missing from the lineup. So what do you gather from the first team that was picked in that half?
Yeah, that first team, they didn't I think I say that first half it was really the second half was much better. The players just seemed to step up a little bit, and we didn't change it until quite late on. And I feel like that when you watched Sarr, I thought Sarr was really good. I was really impressed with Sarr, and I really do like him. Destiny was very good. I thought James Maddison was very good. So I feel like they're clicking together a little bit. So when you saw that link up between Destiny and Sonny, like they're already kind of linking up and forming them partnerships with each other, which is really good because now they're playing a bit more together. And we're going to get that. But obviously we have got another few players that were out that could possibly be potential starters. But he does like to change it up a bit, Postecoglou. So he might not have a set team to start with, but I think he will maybe drop in the substitutes as well, so he can sort of change it a little bit. But it's good because they're building up partnerships and mixing it up. It's a good way of being able to build those relationships. And I think you are starting to definitely see it 100%. You can see how they're sort of linking up with each other now.
When I think about it, actually, maybe certain players hadn't played with each other yet in the preseason and actual action. And so there was a bit more mixing. Like Højbjerg was more in that second half squad, it felt like every time. And then this time he was more in the first half team, whereas Basuma didn't really get to see minutes, which is sad. But I think we know he's going to be kind of one of the main players for next season. And, he was kind of more in that first half team. So it was nice to see Højbjerg play with different players. Emerson, I would say the same thing, was more part of the second half, got to play now in the first half. It's a good point there. Michael, like anything you would take from the first half, sort of squad? Is that something we can read into? Maybe not too much into. What do you think?
Yeah, so like I will completely echo what Mia said with Sarr and Udogi. I think it's brilliant to see them like gel into the team. I would like to point out that they still are a bit like rough. Let's say they made like 2 or 3, like the ball bounced off them or something. But those are just things that you accustomed with young players, right? You don't mind if they make those mistakes. You have to give them game time to iron those things out, right? But with other players, I loved seeing like Maddison so involved in the game. Like there was actually a funny situation at the beginning of the second half when Kane kept dropping in, right? And I literally sat here with my girlfriend and I screamed at the monitor. I was like, Kane, get in the effing box. Like, stop dropping in, stop getting into Maddison's way. literally, I kid you not, 10 seconds
went back to
later,
his programming.
he scored the goal, the second goal of the game, right? I kid you not, 10 seconds after I said that he scored the goal because he ran into the box, got at the end of the cross and scored the goal, right? So I think there are like a couple of things that still need to be ironed out, still need to be taught to those players. But I think we kind of, I believe that the 11 that we saw in the first half today was an 11 that we will probably see starting against Brentford with maybe one or two personal like changes. And one thing last I want to also add is with Udogie and Royal, I felt way more comfortable than with Poro or Udogie or Poro and whoever else it was in the left back position. But it's such a shame with Poro because I feel like it's neither the right back nor the right winger is his like destined position. He's that hybrid between a right wing back, which we won't be playing because like wing backs are usually used in a back five system, or when you have an extremely defensive left-sided left back, right?
Right.
It's kind of like if we were playing a 4-4-2, he would be that right mid player, you know, in that second block of four, he would be the guy on the right side, right? That's his destined position. And I kind of have a fear that we will find it hard to like get him into the team if we plan on playing Udogie or Udogie on the left side, right? Because I think both of them, they are a bit, the team is not balanced then. But with Royal and Udogie, I felt the balance of the team. Royal dropping into the midfield, Udogie joining the attack. It felt like solid and, you know, like a concrete spine, right? Whereas with Poro and Udogie, it was a bit too unbalanced in the previous games for me.
Do you agree with that, Michael? Or sorry, Jacob? Do you agree with Michael, Jacob?
In regards to Emerson?
Yeah, I agree with myself.
Yeah, in regards to I guess he was saying, right, feeling more comfortable with Emerson, even if Emerson isn't as good as Poro going forward. There was that balance of Udogie kind of being a bit more attack-minded, and then Emerson sort of tucking in and being sort of that defensive kind of extra sort of man to have back there.
Yeah, what's interesting is how many times I saw Udogie and Emerson Royal in that center circle together when we had possession or when we were even in transitioning. I thought that was pretty interesting to me, how inverted these fullbacks really are. When we talk about inverted fullbacks, I didn't know they would be playing where Pierre-Emile Højbjerg used to play, and then Højbjerg would be dropping in between the center. But hey, I'm all for it. I love watching it. Emerson Royal, I do want to shout out those two no-look passes. He is 0 for 2 for no-look passes at this juncture.
Yeah.
Maybe
FB ref, get on it. SofaScore, get on those. Yeah.
We need his Emerson stat. How many no-look passes? But I believe he was 0 for 2 today. That first one, he should have just shot it. But, you know, Emerson, we've always known this, right? That Emerson was defensively, he could be sound. It's going forward that he presents some issues for us, and why I think he would frustrate us so much. But, you know, Udogie, I really have been impressed with this guy. I love that since he got his first 45 minutes, he really hasn't let go of that first team spot. I know when they cut to a shot of Reguilon, he looked a little down and out. That mole on his face had a frown. And usually it's a big smile. You know, he's happy about life. He's eating the bistec and he's got Marta. So for Udogie, I think the only problem I'm really seeing was the last match. Defensively, he got turned around by some Singaporean sailor, and I thought that was a little silly. But he's a young guy. I think that will come in time. I'm not really concerned. If anything, I think today what I saw from Destiny was enough to solidify my opinion that, yeah, he deserves that left. There was never a question. I never had faith in Reguilon or Sessegnon to take that. I knew it was a matter of time until Destiny showed Ainge, and look how quickly it was. So I'm really glad that he's gotten that opportunity. I think the left back situation, we're sitting a little bit better than we were last season. But what's interesting, we didn't see Pedro Porro at all today.
I felt like he could have played at right wing. Like when I feel like it at times, Kulusevski, right? We got frustrated that he just always sort of cuts inside. the moment that he started to take it down sort of the byline a bit more and use his right foot, all of a sudden he was creating more chances.
All of a
Pedro
sudden,
Porro,
we use
you
that
think,
other foot.
all of a sudden he was kind of, not being as predictable, and then he was creating more chances. It feels like Pedro Porro, that's what we were giving him credit for when he was playing actually in kind of the right mid position, was he was tucking inside when he needed to, but also kept the width and was actually pretty good out there in sort of those wide areas and just knocking in those crosses. And what Pedro Porro probably does better than maybe even Kulusevski does is kind of being consistently kind of on the money with those crosses. Like they're almost rarely sort of off target, it feels like, when Pedro Porro puts them in there. I want to see him given a shot at right wing, but it's hard to know whether Ange kind of sees him as that player, or whether he still sees him as a right back, or whether he himself is also confused, what position he even
is. This a match where we can look into it and say, oh, this person didn't even get a look in, this person? I mean, we've been saying that about Jed Spence and Joe Rodon. They're definitely on the outskirts. If anyone's getting loaned, it's them two on the top of the list so far. But
that's a good question. My
main question really is, like, are we concerned that we didn't see Pedro Porro? Are we concerned that we didn't get to see Perisic? Is this any kind of indication? Today was all about, it's going to be a big indicator about Harry Kane's future. It's a big indicator about it. If it's an indicator about Harry Kane and his status with the club, I would assume the same applies to everybody else.
I'd imagine it's a bit individual. I'd imagine it's still a bit individual basis, per person. But Mia, can we read into certain players like Perisic and guys like that also being left out? Yeah,
I'll probably say would say no, because don't forget we've got another game in like 48 hours, so he has to obviously figure out which ones are going to play in which match, because otherwise you can't have the players playing that close together, like playing that many minutes, then playing again, or play half and half, which someone said, like, when I was talking about, I said no, because you want to get the players to have a longer amount of time, because they've not done that yet. So what he's doing is sensible. He's making sure that two teams have a bit of a longer run out, and then he can see what those teams are like. So I feel like he's just saving some of the players to play against Barcelona, because that's going to be a bigger test. Let's not get it twisted. That's going to be a bigger test than what happened today.
But Mia, my thought though is, surely, okay, let's, at the 80-minute mark, let's do a full Batum swap out if that's the case. Like, he could have done that. And to me, this was almost, it felt like a rough draft of what a match could look like, because he made just a couple of substitutions. I think the Harry Kane thing was just because, man, you've already scored 4 goals. That's enough, But outside of that substitution, all those rest of those seemed tactical or fitness about Sonny and Madison. So I agree with you, Mia, that it is a little, you got to throw in the fact we need to have a squad that can go out there and play against Barcelona, because it will be a big test. But if that's the bigger test, surely we're going with our stronger squad for that, right?
Yeah, I had a feeling that he kind of, like, the first 2 matches, as we know, were the 45-minute splits between two teams, right? I have a feeling that with the Shakhtar and Barcelona match, he kind of wants to also do the split, but give one team a chance against, 80 minutes of game time or 90, and in the other match he will give the other team 80 or 90 minutes. But I have a feeling the only reason he chose Shakhtar as the exhibition match, let's say, for the first team, was because it was his first game at home. We haven't played at home for a long time, etc. I just have a feeling
that's a good thought. That's a good point.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, for me it was strictly like to showcase our home fans, the first team, in a sense. I agree that I would love to see a bit more changes, because he had unlimited chances to make a change, right? So why didn't he bring on Porro in 70th or 80th minute? I have no clue. Maybe Porro will play 90 minutes against Barca. Maybe that's the case, right? We will see in 2 days. But I wouldn't look too much into the squads today and in 2 days, right? The best indication will be the Brentford match, of course, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if after this match and after Barcelona match, the Royal plus Udogie duo will be his go-to, right? Because other positions, we kind of know who will play, right? We know it will, if Kane stays, it will be Kane, Son, Kulusevski, Maddison, Bissouma if he's fit. Then if he's a central defensive mid, then Sarr probably until Bentancur is fit. Then it will be Romero. I don't know if Van de Ven will necessarily play against Brentford, but it will probably be him or Davies and Vicario in goal, right? That part of the team we know. Like the only part of the pitch I feel like where we aren't sure who is starting yet is the left back and right back, right? But I have a feeling he kind of starts going into the Royal plus a Doji pairing rather than Poro or Doji or Poro and Region or whatever, right?
I do have a question I need to get to, though, and it is maybe less of the, as much as I want to stay, positive and happy clapping, I think we have to, acknowledge the goal that we conceded. Mia, would you, maybe care to take us through it if you remember it at all, in a detailed way? Was it Ben Davies? Was it all his fault, like I made it out to be in the watch along? Is it a similar goal that we conceded, in the preseason? What did you make of the goal conceded?
Yeah, I do think it was Ben Davies. And there was a couple of other times where that straight ball down the middle was really dangerous for us. And like our players were so out of position, and Emerson Royale were trying to run back, and you're just like, oh my God, like that's the biggest issue, isn't it? And obviously that's the left side, Ben Davies' side. So we all know that's obviously the weaker side. That obviously that they tend to sort of go for, because that's the side that's the weakest. But yeah, we definitely had a few little hairy moments where I thought we could have conceded more than one. I'm not going to lie. I do feel like that they were a bit wasteful. And that is still definitely something we need to work on. And set pieces, when they do set pieces, getting set pieces right, like we just seem to be absolutely useless at it. Really, we really do. So yeah, I do feel like it's still a little bit of an issue. We did concede only one, but like I say, I felt like we could have conceded a couple more if they would have taken their chances.
By the way, quickly before we continue, City scored against Arsenal, so right now it's 1-0, 88th minute. By the way, if anyone wants to know.
Oh, you hope there are knee slides, from Pep, and everything, but the big, giving it the big end, to the Lego man. We have Ollie in the house. Good to see you, Ollie. Hopefully you're keeping well. And he says, evening. The goal conceded was from not pressing the crosser. And Ben Davies, right? He was kind of bullied on that cross, but could we have done better on defending the cross? Michael, Jacob, maybe both of you, but maybe Jacob first. Thoughts?
I think that's Chris with Meta Football TV. So, but big up, Chris.
Sorry.
I agree. The best way to prevent a cross header goal from happening is to prevent the cross from happening in the first place. I've always believed that. So, the blame, yes, Davies, it does fall heavily on his shoulders, because at the end of the day, he got beat by his man. But so did the guy who the cross came in from. I believe it was on our right-hand side. Was that Emerson? Who was that? That didn't close down?
I think someone said it could have been on Emerson's side. Yeah, right, because the cross wasn't well defended, and then it was over on the left-hand side. So it was Emerson and Romero, I guess, over on that side. Right.
Right. But I think Romero and Davies both got beat by the goal scorer on the play, I think. So it was someone out there on the right, whether it was Emerson Royale or whoever was supposed to cover for him, Højbjerg, because, when those fullbacks get going forward, someone's got to cover for them at the end of the day. So it could just be a lack of miscommunication. It's interesting because Spurs, man, we're the most consistent club in the history. We always concede a goal. I don't know what our problem is. It doesn't matter if you're the Singaporean Lions or West Ham's B team, or as long as you ain't City at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, anyone else can score. And it's such a weird thing that I don't understand. I've been waiting, to see the day in which we don't concede to some random person, or the day in which we don't make a striker look world class. But let's be honest, even in that second half, there was quite a few chances there for Shakhtar. Number 2, I like to shout out Traore. Every Traore I ever run across.
Lassina Traore,
yeah. He was tearing it up. Number 39, whoever that, I don't remember his name, but he was killing it for them. He was tearing us apart. And to me, there's a lot of issues. I don't know if it was Michael or Jack who mentioned those straight passes through the middle was slicing open on defense like crazy. It happened in the first half. there's definite problems, but we knew this, right? When we started the transitioning to Ainge ball, we knew that we would be caught out quite a few times. We'd be playing this high line, pressing, and when you do that, naturally, it leads to you scoring more goals, but also it naturally leads to you conceding more as well.
Yeah, like I think with this system, right, we have to get used to the fact that, like, no matter the personnel, no matter who plays in that back four, there will be chances that we concede, right? You can't stop the opposition from attacking at all, right? That there will be some instances where they cut through us, right? I kid you not, if we had, like, I don't know, Ruben Diaz, prime Van Dijk, prime Robertson, and whoever else on the right, like, world class, absolutely the best defense in the world, right? They would still get cut open from time to time, right? We do this to City every single year, even though they have like a world class backline. We put one ball through to Sonny, and suddenly we are in on goal, and he scores, right? It's as easy as that, let's say, right? So we kind of have to get used to the fact that as I said, we will concede chances from time to time, and I would want to agree with what one of the commenters said about, like, preventing the cross from even happening, right? But I get the point, right? But you have to take into consideration that sometimes those crosses will come in, right? Sometimes the right back or whoever is defending won't have the time to close the gap, right? But then Davies cannot get beat like that when the cross comes in, right? That's the issue with Ben Davies. I with all due respect to him, but he's kind of like small, and he's not as strong for a center back as he should be, right? That's why, like, his frame was always better for me as a left back. I'm not saying he's a better left back than a center back, but his frame of body is better for a left back, right? Because he doesn't have to fight.
No, he's not going to be asked in those situations as much. Yeah.
I don't know. I know that Van de Ven's area stats were woeful last season, right? But I have a feeling that if he was there in his place with his, like, 6'4", like, built like a brick shithouse figure, right? I don't think he would have been beaten as easily as Ben Davies was, right? So I kind of want to blame Davies for us conceding the goal, but it wasn't like solely on him, right? It's not 100% his fault, because as one of the commenters said, and as you guys mentioned, like, the cross probably should have been stopped, right? If we know that this is our weak side, like claiming crosses and fighting off crosses, then we should have done a better job at defending those, right? Not letting them through.
And then also as well, just a quick moment for the goalkeepers union. Jacob, can you either do whatever you want, jump on Vicario, or are you thinking people are getting a bit too far already on the goals conceded?
I think a little bit. If people are giving him, I know I was watching a little bit of Sean earlier on his Spurs talk show. I was watching a little bit of him, and he was like, I don't know about, he does this Shawnee voice. I don't know about Vicario. I don't know. He's just, and he was saying that in the first half, and, rightfully so. But again, he hadn't really been tested. It was just a couple glancing moments in which you're saying, oh, he almost got caught out. Almost don't matter unless it's horseshoes or grenades. So it doesn't really resonate with me with this almost. I'm a goalie. If you almost scored, that's not a goal. So for me, he's shown me several moments. Now, I'm not saying like the whole game, but several moments in West Ham in the 45th minute, a hell of a save. And then also today he had two within, I think, like 2 minutes of each other. It was very quick. And that first one, wow, that was insane how he got. I mean, yes, it is right here. He just had to, hit a little of that. But I mean, he's impressive. He's got, if anything, he's got really good reflexes, because he can stop those shots when they're very close, very, very. I don't know how he looks from distance. We saw in the first half a couple of those that went whizzing over that he couldn't get his hand on. It looked like maybe his vision isn't the best, but I think his reflexes, he's got snake-like reflexes, man. That to be able to get a block on a shot that was that close at that much power, that that was impressive. The second shot.
Isn't that similar to Lloris in a way, though?
Focus.
More reaction, type guy. Like, when you ask him to be in, like I said, Lloris in his best moments, it's kind of like a cat, where it's like, you throw a tennis ball and then it just jumps, like immediately to where it is. And I felt like Lloris was like that. Vicario could be a similar type saving technique, or even style was the right word, where it's sort of like a guy that maybe doesn't do always the best in the one-on-ones, but might actually just be when a random shot just comes in that's looks like it's about to be a worldie, he actually just might save it, and ruin somebody's day. Mia, do you want to jump in just quickly on the Vicario sort of,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
thinking,
think
what are your thoughts?
I think people have been really over harsh with him. I think that people, like today, that goal that they scored wasn't his fault. I feel like he couldn't really do anything about it. And he did make a couple of really good saves. And also, is it just me, or is he starting to read the game a little bit better? So when he's coming out a little bit more, I feel like he's getting more confident with reading the game slightly better as well. And I think that's just going to take a little bit of time, just like any player. I think people forget he's just a player. Yes, he's a goalkeeper, but he's the same as any player that has to settle in, get used to it, and get used to how we play and what might come at you. He has to learn, and I feel that he is doing that. And I do feel like this time I saw him come out of his box a bit, but he looked a bit more like he was confident at reading where the ball was going and being able to stop it. Where before I felt he was a bit more panicky. And the thing I would say is he's better with his feet than Lloris ever was. So at least I'm more confident that he's better with his feet. He's got the good reflexes. Like I say, he's starting to read the game a little bit more, and I think he can learn a bit more. And he's definitely much, much better with his feet. So, I feel
and that
like
cost us goals last season, right? Lloris's lack of ability with his feet. There were some moments where that ended up leading to a goal conceded because he put us under further pressure.
That's it. Yeah. So that's why I feel like we need to give him a bit more of maybe of a chance. I feel like he's learning, and I feel like he's growing into it a bit more, in my opinion, anyway.
And I want to add something. I agree with you, Mia. He is growing, but we're going to have to be patient with this guy when he's playing actual Premier League football. Because remember, you can save one shot of Jared Bowen, but if Jared Bowen's playing 90 minutes, I mean, and he's let's look at other teams as well. In Wemo, when we're talking about Brentford, when we're looking at United with Anthony and Rashford and all the attacking that's going to happen, he's going to have an adjustment period where it's going to look like he isn't suited for this league. So I think from a fan perspective, we kind of have to be patient with this guy. I don't want to judge him too fast because a lot of things, it's like goal scoring, right? It's a confidence thing. If you're feeling yourself, if you're confident in what you're doing, you're stopping 9 out of 10 every time.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like second guessing, like you're saying, Mia, whereas you're a little bit like, should I come out here? Should I back in? Do I move left? Do I move right? Where, and you start really, it's a mental game when you're in that box, because sometimes you're just back there by yourself, especially with a high pressing line. You're just sitting there by yourself. You got your own thoughts, and you really got to just, sometimes they say a dumb goalie is the best goalie because they don't overthink it. They say if a goalie is too smart and thinks too much,
instinctual,
it's like a kicker in the NFL. You know what I mean? You don't want to play too many mental games, and I think we're going to have an adjustment period when he comes into the Premier League, just because of the pace of the game and the quality.
Michael, and before we do move on to the second half, if you have an opinion on Vicario, what are your thoughts? Maybe thus far.
Yeah. First of all, this comment, right? Yeah, Lloris is a World Cup winner, but he's also a World Cup loser in a final where he didn't save a single penalty in a penalty shootout. Like, guys, let's get away from the penalty kick, from the Lloris World Cup winner. Argument. Let's focus on Vicario, right? I absolutely hate it when people are so quick to judge a player and start slating them after like first or second mistake that the guy made, right? The same thing happened with Porot. I don't know if you noticed, like in the previous season, right? We played the game against Leicester, first game that the guy played for us, right? And he got skinned by Barnes once, right? And everyone was like, why the fuck did we buy him? What a waste of money, waste of space. He's so shit. Get him off the pitch, bring back Royale, I don't know, Doherty is better than him, whatever, right? It's calm down, people. Like, let the guy, let the guy learn what he can expect from the defense. Learn from the guy what he has to do. Right. One thing I have to say about him, right? Whenever he got the ball and someone was running at him, I knew that this ball will end up at our center back's feet, right? Whereas with Lloris, you knew it's either in the stands or at the opposition center back feet, right? Because Lloris, when he wasn't feeling confident, he would just boot it forwards, right? Without looking, where he is going to pass it, right? Whereas this guy, I know it wasn't like a quick, aggressive pressing that he will face from the Premier League opposition, but still the Shakhtar Donetsk players tried to press him, right? And he always was so calm. He just distributed it to one of the center backs or a right back or even forward to Højbjerg, right? And I liked it about him, right? I felt confident with him when he had the ball at his feet, right? And also, I know that he conceded one of the goals, but he also saved like 2 or 3 very difficult shots. One of them was a one-on-one situation, I think, in the second half. And he also saved one, I believe, in the first half, he saved one-on-one when basically the player tried to go to the left and go past him, and he just scooped the ball from under the player's feet, right? I am confident in this guy. I feel like he will be really useful for us, right? And I don't want to see people getting on his back, because we have this really strange habit of whenever Davies, for example, we discussed about Davies, right? But many people, they see Davies is at fault for conceding a goal, right? And they're like, yeah, it's Davies, he always does that, right? But this Vicario guy, he should have stopped the goal, he's shit, he's whatever, right? And judge them by the same rule book, right? It's so strange for me, because you either slate everyone or you don't slate everyone, right? It's like, if Davies is at fault at the goal, then blame Davies as much as you blame Vicario, right? It's not like, Davies, he always does that, right? Oh, the silly little Davies, right?
Yeah,
but Vicario, motherfucker. And it's so I can't understand this attitudes that some fans have, right?
Yeah, and I also think too, with goalkeeper, it's just, you can't even look at it, I think, with the same sort of rules that we do even other positions, because goalkeepers aren't even able to warm into a game. Like, it's not like they're playing 1-2s with people, just passing it about, kind of getting into the motions of things. A goalkeeper can be in a game where, like in the West Ham match, his first match, I mean, how many touches of the ball did he have? Like 2? Like, it was sort of like, a game where he just sat in the cold for pretty much 90 minutes and was able to wear a Spurs jersey and be able to just sort of kind of run around every now and again. But, a goalkeeper position is a very lonely position. And so I think you need that confidence, and you need to, feel like you're making the right decisions, because when you're not making the right decisions, it can be a very lonely position, because the costs or the what ends up happening if you don't make the right decision is much more costly or much more kind of high profile than it is with other positions on the pitch. And that's kind of the benefit of being a striker sometimes, is that you can miss 7 sitters, but if you end up scoring that match winner, no one really cares at the end of the day. Whereas with a goalkeeper, it's not really the same type of thing. I did want to go into the second half, and just in the second half, really just sort of speak about what was better, what was different at all. Michael, it might actually just come straight back to you. What did you like about the second half? Where do you want to get us started there?
I think one thing we have to consider is that, again, with all due respect to Shakhtar players, right, but we are a better team, and I think what showed in the second half was our superior fitness, in my opinion, and the fact that we were still playing at the same tempo, the same patterns of play, but we were something that we basically didn't let them off the hook. I have a feeling that sometimes when the teams are more equal, even if one team is dominating, the team that's dominating will get tired at some point, right? And then the defending team can bounce, right? With the second half, I feel like we never gave them a room to breathe. We never gave them the opportunity to regroup, calm down, set themselves into the formation, and then try to hurt us, right? I have a feeling we just kept playing our game. We did it really well, in my opinion. And yeah, it's basically, I think those players got tired at certain point, right? Some mistakes started creeping in, and yeah, we pounced on those mistakes, right? We have a world class striker, and then he put those chances away, right? I enjoyed the second half really a lot, right? It's yeah, basically that, right?
I think you pointed out, Mia, Kulusevski was sort of the big highlight for you in the second half. Is that right?
Yeah, in the second half, he just looked like different gravy, didn't he, compared to the first half? He really was a lot different. I don't know what happened in that half time. I don't know if he had some sort of like pep talk, or if he just, ate some oranges and got a bit of like
Put on
some
some
little
sunscreen.
sugar in him, and yeah, whatever runs him, whatever happened, it just seems like he was a completely different player, and he was on it. He was just determined as well. Some of those little flicks and tricks, some of the balls that he did, like he was just absolutely on one. He was like a man possessed basically in that second half. He really wanted to score, and I felt bad that he didn't score, to be honest with you, because he had some good opportunities to score, but he definitely was in the second half for me the standout.
Yeah. And for you, Jacob, what was sort of maybe your big highlight in the second half? What was different about it? Because I felt like the style of play, what we're trying to do is the same. That didn't change at all. Like it was the same type of style. I don't know if even the tactics changed very much, but what was different, do you think?
I have to agree with Mia here that honestly, Kulusevski, the first half showed us what we've seen all preseason and last season. And then this second half showed us what we saw that second half of the previous season before last. So if that makes sense. I just think that Kulusevski, I've been waiting for this guy to prove me wrong and to shut me up. And you know what? This is a good first step in that direction because he looked bright. Again, this is a guy that I'm looking at with the lens of like, you got to show me something, guy, because I've gone a long time of watching you not good. I've watched him play bad for us longer than I've seen him play good for us. And so but he's young. He's got talent. There's no doubt about that. So my hope is that with Ainge and him, they can get it clicking. And this is a good sign. This is a really good sign about that at halftime, we saw such an improvement and an adjustment in one player like that I really think that, it's a little bit restored my faith that he can prove me wrong. I'm still waiting for it, but he's at least on that path now. Whereas after Singapore and the West Ham game, I was really like, I guess it wasn't Antonio Conte's tactics holding him back. I guess it was just his inability to do things. And, he got all these opportunities and he wasn't doing anything with them. And then finally, hey, man, you start using that right foot of yours, you can actually do something with it. And
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. At one stage, I was starting to think that it wasn't true, that maybe he was becoming a bit predictable. But I think it maybe is the case that at times he sort of does resort to just kind of thinking that cutting inside is just going to always work for him because he uses his strength. He relies on that nice, intricate type touch. But, good defenders can close those angles down and make it harder on you and, make that cross or that shot that he's always trying to go for when cutting inside even more difficult on him. And if you fake it out, where you try to make it look more convincing that you're going down the right, like he did more in the second half. I mean, he dropped that guy like a few times, with how, with the fakes of going down the right and then still cutting back to his left where he wants to do, right? He still wants to cut back on that left. You just have to make it more convincing. And I don't know, like I think Nick brought up, Arjen Robben at one stage, and you think of a guy who made a living off of cutting inside like that. I mean, I can't really think of, how he was able to do it, all the time, but he must have been doing something that every single time sort of convinced the defender that, maybe he actually might go down the right this time. Like maybe he actually will sort of, do something different. And even if he did seem predictable, he still was able to be effective. And that's all Kulusevski needs to do is, even if he wants a preferred side, you have to be more convincing that you're going down the other side still.
Exactly. And see, that's the main thing, right? Is you got to at least present the idea to the defender because, like you said, all they have to do is watch 1 or 2 matches, and they say, okay, the guy on the right wing, he loves cutting it on their left foot. He's probably not going to push you too hard on that right side. He's going to definitely cut. Just wait for the cut in on the left foot because it's so predictable. And the thing is, that's Sonny has even fallen a little victim to that, where the defenders know, all right, I'm just going to stand here on where you're trying to cut it on the right foot. I'm just going to stand here. Let's see you go left. And he didn't. I was amazed at how little Sonny chose to go left. There was oodles of space. One man just go at him. And instead he was, I don't know if it's tactics. I don't know what. I don't want to harp too much on him. I know we're talking about Kulusevski, but that predictability thing is what really needs to help Kulusevski's game. Add one more dynamic to your game, like using your right foot, and look what it did for you. Now, let's see him use it. Let's see him get, what do you have, 2 assists? Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I want that Brentford. You need at least 1 goal contribution, goal or assist. You have to. You're going to get oodles of chances like we've seen, like Richarlison does, like everyone in the front. There's so many chances for everybody. You have to do something with it, in my opinion. And you know what? I'm glad that Dan Kulusevski was able to do that today.
Honestly, I'm liking the Kulusevski, discussion thus far. Maybe one more kind of point on it, and we have Ellie in the house, Mia. So, what would you say to Ellie that his shooting was poor? Because while he was a different player in the second half, do you feel like he could have done a bit better in the finishing department?
Absolutely. I think there was 2 shots. Sorry, Mia, I'll let you go. I think there was 2 shots that I was like, those are good. All the rest, throw them away.
Yeah, then he get like 7.
Yeah, and I do think a couple of them he was unlucky, and the others, he could have done better. But Joe, what I feel like it builds confidence though, because the more he can try, he's getting that confidence back with trying, if that makes sense, because that's what builds that confidence. So I'm not gonna get onto him too much about it. I feel like that, he didn't do great. He could have done better. However, I feel that it's giving him that confidence, maybe.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. Before we go on to some post-match quotes, maybe just grab a man of the match from each of you. Maybe I'll go first with this one. I'm going to make it kind of obvious. I think it just goes to Big H. I think there was obviously a lot of sort of rumors, tabloids, everything going into this game. And he looked pretty ice cold today. Even everything from, his celebrations to him sprinting off the pitch, and then wiping his hair, as he went off and everything. Just sort of handled the whole occasion, with a bit of class. And if he is, staying today, I'd be quite relieved because I thought he, didn't make the whole occasion about himself at all. And it didn't seem to be that much of a, Harry Kane fest as I kind of anticipated it being. Even though he grabbed 4 goals, I just, loved his performance, and he was just showing as well that he can be that ruthless striker up top that also Richarlison has been kind of a, tipped to be as well in that type of system. But I don't know. I think Harry Kane for me is the man of the match, but maybe it's just, again, like how I greeted everybody. Michael, go to you, person next to me.
Yeah, so for me, the Kane is an obvious choice, right? So to make it a bit more interesting, because I guess we probably all
need that
would pick Kane, right? He scored 4 damn goals. It's hard not to pick him, right? But to make it more interesting, I think I would choose Maddison. I loved how I generally when he was at Leicester, but especially now when I see him play with our players, right? I absolutely love how involved this guy is in the build-up play, and that he's not afraid to shoot. He's not afraid to dribble past someone. He's not afraid to play little 1-2s in a tight space, right? Of course, there is still a bit more time. There still will be more time needed for him to gel completely with the rest of the squad, right? But even after those 3 games, 2 45-minute halves and today 70 minutes, I saw in this guy that he has the potential to be like this metronome in the middle of the pitch that runs everything, right? He's a perfect player in transitions when you want to transition the ball from the center back to the forward line. He's really good at shooting, as I said, and all the superlatives I said about him already, right? I love seeing this guy play, and I hope that the goals and assists will come eventually, right? I think he had an assist today. I don't remember who assisted who, right? But and in one of the previous matches still. But yeah, I hope when the Premier League starts, he will be the the guy that runs the show when we are dominating some teams, right?
When he gets in those like little tight areas around the box, he kind of actually, I feel like, comes alive all of a sudden. He's just doing all these little touches and inside, outside, and then, playing 1-2s and everything. It seems like when he's actually put under pressure in those kind of intricate areas, those tight areas, he's actually showing what he's all about, which is just being just a clever, sort of player, and just kind of moves kind of a bit sort of, like slow motion in a way. Like he just makes it look easy actually in sometimes those sort of tight areas. But Steve D says, I thought Madison was outstanding for 90 minutes. No one else was. Jacob, man of the match, was Madison for you or somebody else?
I always pick a dude who's going to score 4 goals, obviously. But since you picked him, my runner-up was James Madison. The fancy footwork, the dancing tiptoe ballerina in the box. I loved it. I loved his passing. I loved his cross-play. I loved all of it. Madison was absolutely outstanding. But in the effort of throwing names out there of people who I thought were impressive, just at least maybe honorable mention, not necessarily my choice, because obviously I just said I picked Kane first and then Madison. But my another name I throw in there, I thought Destiny Udogie. He showed a lot of defensive abilities to win the ball, to steal the ball, to read a pass and pick it out. And then also, I feel like that's a lot of the questions we've had about Destiny. We all know we can play a great additional left winger side role, and I want to see more of him and Son play together. But I thought his passing was on point today. I thought defensively he played with a lot of girth, and I love that. So I'm throwing his name out there, Destiny Udogie. I'm trying to not get a Udogie shirt. If he picks up the number 2, I may have to get it. Udogie, come on, Destiny Udogie. But if Kane stays,
Destiny to my Doji.
If Kane stays, I'll get the Kane shirt. But if not, I might get Udogie. I might.
What I find kind of crazy about Udogie, just quickly, is that it was sort of like made out by a lot of journalists and everything that like, no, he cannot play in a back 4, like as if like he's just not allowed inside a certain room or something, like, or whatever. It was just as if he will never figure it out as a back 4, and like he's brilliant in this particular system or something. And I don't know, maybe I'm starting to think that it was just because they knew that we got such a talent on our hands that they wanted to make it out to be that maybe he was a bit like a Pedro Porro, a bit more kind of system, kind of dependent, or not even system dependent, just comes to his best attributes in a particular type of shape. But he's just shown to be, I mean, a lot taller and bigger than even the Italian cameras, showed out to be on Paramount or anything. I watched him on, occasionally when I was able to see him on Paramount, but he looks a lot bigger in a Spurs jersey than he does a Spurs kid.
They say for big boys that white isn't flattering. White makes big boys look bigger. So that's why I'm wearing a black shirt right now. I like a lot of dark colors, slim me down. But Destiny Udogie, he looks huge. But also, Jack, what you were saying that what quelled my worries about him playing as a left back is he said verbatim before the Asia tour, before we went to Australia, this got brought up, and he had a quote that said, I started out playing as a left back, so of course I can play the left back. He said that's the position he started playing when he first came onto the scene. So it's not like he can't do it. I think it's just he was so, when you're a student who has so much, you the regular curriculum doesn't matter because you've mastered it. Now it's time to do the AP stuff, the advanced, for the smart kids. And I think it's a little bit of that why you see last year why, with Udinese, he was very much, not asked to do the defensive stuff. They needed an attacker. They don't really have that great of an attack. And he was a pivotal point in that. So I've never had doubt. As soon as I heard that quote, when I heard it straight from the horse's ace, that I knew he could play left back because he said it himself. He wouldn't say it if he did. So
definitely, Destiny Udogie for you, Mia. I mean, do you kind of agree with me? Like we were being told that he was like supposed to be incapable of playing in back 4 from our gathering. I mean, it's only preseason. We could get embarrassed on this opinion, but I don't know. He's looking pretty, he's looking like he can do it.
So far, so
good. To be honest, I always take with what they say with a pinch of salt. I like to see a player with my own eyes. I always feel like that there's so many opinions out there using stats, using what they've seen before. But if they've never seen them play in a different system, how do they know they're not able to play in a different system? It just doesn't make no sense. So for me, so far, like Michael said, so far so good. I feel like that he's playing very, very well. And I'm a bit worried about your obsession with girth, though, Jacob. I'm not going to lie. This is a regular mention now. And I'm a bit concerned about how much girth you're like a bit obsessed with.
It's pivotal. It's pivotal, especially when we look at a back
pivotal to a back four.
It's 63 goals in the Premier League. You need a bit of girth back there. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying you're a bit obsessed with girth. But, just saying.
It's a vital aspect.
It's part of the Ange system. It's part of Ange's system.
He is, and he's still growing as well. That's the crazy thing about Doji. He's still got a bit of growing to do, which is madness. He is tank. He's like a tank, isn't he, of a man.
We got a few players like that are like under that 20 years old age that are just massive. Papa Matassar, we have that Alejo Valise guy, probably still growing.
I tell you what, a lot of people say about Sarr, they think because he's a slightly slimmer, he's not as maybe as bulky, that he's not strong. But if you watch him, he's a really strong boy, and he's got legs that go on and on, like he's got mad long legs as well. So when he gets the ball, like he can just easily kind of get the ball because he just puts his leg out a little bit because it's so bloody long. It's crazy. And he can get across the field quick because the pitch quick because like he takes 2-3 steps, he's already at the halfway line. So he obviously he's so tall, but he's strong as well. I think people misunderstand with him. He's actually quite a strong boy if you watch him.
Yeah, and he definitely plays very strong. And he's shown that since last year. I remember seeing it, I was like, wow, this kid, for being so skinny, plays so strong. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah. He's more, do you know what it is? He's dense, isn't he? Like he's slim, but he's dense. So he's like all muscle. He's all muscle, he is.
I just think he goes into most of his challenges with so much momentum that it's sort of hard to like kind of, he just goes in with so much kind of, momentum and kind of energy, with anything he does, Sarr, that it's just, hard to, push him out of the way. I'm not sure, though. I asked you about Udoji, how great he was, but I'm not sure I got a man of the match from you, though, Mia.
Oh, my man of the match. I'm going to actually probably go Michael in this one and say I was really impressed with Maddison. And I've had I was a bit sceptical about Maddison, wasn't I? So I'm always open to the possibility because I said I was sceptical. I wasn't writing him off. But I thought some of his, like the way that he tiptoed, moved that ball, he was brilliant. And obviously he got the first goal because of the penalty was given because of him, because of his movement, his trickery, the way he tricks players with the movement of the ball and stuff. He's brilliant. He's really good when you watch him. He's a really exciting player to watch.
And seeing the combination between him and Sonny, the combination between him and Kane, it's sort of like why we brought him in here in the first place, is sort of to make life easier on them.
And I feel like he's the kind of player he'll do that for any player. Whoever's in front of him, he's working with, he'll make sure that he does that, if that makes sense. He just seems to be very adaptable with whoever it is, like he's just he's such a natural. He's got a very natural talent on the ball. You can just see it just comes naturally to him.
I agree, though, that you mean like he brings best out of other players, because I actually, even though Harvey Barnes will have like a Bruno Guimaraes, who's one of my favorite players, I do think like Harvey Barnes is slightly inflated by kind of how good James Maddison was in that Leicester team, and that he had the service of players like James Maddison who could play him in behind, who could give him those opportunities to be able to score some pretty, intricate goals or good goals, in my opinion. I think Harvey Barnes is good in the one-on-ones. He's kind of like Sonny, but nowhere near as good as Sonny, but he is good in kind of running in behind, doing those one-on-one type of goals. But that was all because of Maddison's service, in my opinion. And I think that's what's good about Maddison, is that, like you say, no matter who's in front of him, technically, it could be Iheanacho or it could be someone as good as Richarlison or Harry Kane. He'll be able to find them, and he'll be able to bring them that service. Would you go as far as what Steve D said quickly, Mia, that even though Harry Kane scored 4 goals, it was more Maddison that ran the show?
I do feel like that Maddison, obviously Kane's goals were fantastic. I'm not going to say they were. One of them was like obviously a bit of a poacher's goal. A header that, he's always been really good with headers. So I wouldn't say that, but I do think Maddison was fantastic in the game. And also a little shout out to Scarlett as well for getting that goal on the half turn.
Goal of the game.
What a goal. What a good goal from him. I was so pleased for him as well. Again, his confidence. He's a young player. It's really lovely to see him get that goal. And what a spectacular goal to get as well. So a little shout out to Dane Scarlett as well for that one.
Also, shout out Dane Scarlett. Not the only player getting a yellow. He helped Romero to be not the only player to get a yellow in a friendly. So shout out Dane Scarlett supporting my boy Christian Romero.
And you know what?
He got a yellow in that space of time. That's impressive. Also, shout outs to that.
Yellow
I always respect that.
Yep. Do you know what, right? Funny enough, Romero, one of my obviously players that I love, and he also wears my lucky number 17. So it was meant to be with Romero and me.
He didn't get a mention, though, today, and I would say that he was so much better on the ball than Ben Davies was. That's the difference that you can also tell, is that some of the passes he made just to bypass the whole midfield, like he sprayed some passes either to the left wing, or he would just hit it right into Harry Kane's feet without even needing to give it to Maddison or give it to anybody else. It was just what we've been looking for.
And Joe,
and it's sad that we don't get that from the other side, if you get what I mean.
And Joe, I noticed with Romero today, he was a little bit, I know he got the yellow, but I did think he was a little bit more sensible with his tackles. He did some actually really good tackles and he didn't mistime them. He seemed to be a little bit more, thinking about what he's doing a little bit more, in my opinion. So I feel like he wasn't as rash today. He definitely looked a little bit calmer.
I'll definitely put words in your mouth, Steve D. Big up, my man.
I have to read you out something, right? Just today, Destiny Dodge's stats from today: 59 out of 59 passes completed, 100% completion rate, 6 out of 6 ground duels won, 2 out of 2 dribbles completed, 3 interceptions, 3 tackles. Fuck me, like that. Those are some amazing stats. Like, I know the opposition wasn't the best, right? But it's kind of hard not to hype yourself up, right? Come on, he's so good. I love it.
I think he's going to do terrific. And like I said, it was just hilarious. I thought how much it was made out to be that he just wasn't going to cut it at a left back. I was just like, let's just watch the guy first, give him a chance even just to wear the kit, and test it out beforehand. But if I think I was going to mention too, like some of the quotes from Ange Postecoglou, though, that, after the game and sort of like the Harry Kane situation and kind of just touch on that. And then, we can wrap things up here. He said sort of on the Kane situation, he said, I've said to them, the club and Harry, that if the status quo changes, then inform me. I don't need to know about the comings and goings in between. I just want to deal with what's in front of me because I've got to still, irrespective of the outcome of that, I'm building a team here. I can't wait for a decision either way to get going. We don't have the time or the luxury to do that. I'm working with what's in front of me. You saw today that Harry certainly is invested in what we're trying to do here, and we'll keep on doing that unless something changes. And then he also, this is from Fabrizio Romano, some quotes that he had to say were that I'd certainly never speak about other players contracted at other clubs. I'm not at Bayern. They can do whatever they want, though. There's no doubt that I would use Kane. I didn't need today to tell me that he is a world-class player. The way this team will play will help him.
I love the dig at Bayern. I love the dig.
Go ahead, Michael. You go first on his quote.
And by the way, I don't know if you have a quote from him about VDV and defense, because that's something that I loved, that what he said. I can find it quickly if you don't have it at hand, Jack.
On Van de Ven.
Yeah. Just give me a second. I will find it.
On a quick side note, I saw the Hotspur hippie posting a video, Jacob, for you of the kangaroos outside.
Yeah, he's back in the mountains now. He said he's away from the big city, the concrete jungle, and he's out in the wilderness. He's found some friends.
Yes. So
I keep this kangaroo on deck anytime Ange Postecoglou decides to say something that is so massive of a dub that the kangaroo has to dance around with me. So big Ange, I love him so much, and every time he just speaks, it's like, yes, that's my manager.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just like, yes. And finally, it's not just like, oh, I gotta, sorry, Mia, read between the lines, and I gotta, he just straight up is just like, well, I can't plan with what hasn't happened yet, so I can only do with what I've got. I'm like, yes, dude, I get that. He's like, I don't have time or luxury. I love his mentality, and I think it's infectious.
Steve
No,
D also asked if Conte's been kicked off the shelf.
I still have him.
he's in the big one. He's in the big kangaroo, and he's still in the pouch though.
I still have him too.
That's hilarious.
With his little bottle of ouzo as well. He's a drunk. He's a
Yeah, I
drunk.
got some
He's on
kangaroo.
holiday, Mia. He's enjoying his severance package from Spurs.
By the way,
Michael, you had quotes on Van de Ven.
Yeah, it was more about the defense, but he was asked about like Van de Ven, whether he will play, whatever, and he said, it's not done yet. We need some bolstering in that center defensive area. We need defenders who can work in an aggressive formation, defend well, and cover behind the team. We will be looking to bring in a couple in that area in the coming days. That's
he said in plural, Michael.
Yeah,
plural.
a couple. He said a couple. So
A couple, yeah.
I don't know what he means, but listen, maybe
you know
we'll
what he
see,
means.
right? But I have to, like, first of all, as I said, big up that he digged out like Bayern and told them that, listen, I'm not like Bayern, I don't talk about other players, right? I absolutely hate it. And you know what the funniest thing was? I saw like 1 or 2 days ago a post on Bayern's subreddit when they were getting going absolutely potty, that Xavi was talking with Kimmich, right? And they was like, oh, like, how can he do that? Why is he doing that? You can't talk behind the club's back, whatever, right? And I kid you not, like 50% of the comments were Spurs Redditors, like slating them for doing the same with Kane. I found it absolutely hilarious, right? But yeah, with Postecoglou, I completely back what you said, Jacob, right? Like whenever this guy speaks, I am like, fuck yeah, he's my manager. Talk, like,
Get
in. Like, you know, with Conte, I was backing Conte for a long time, right? I wanted it to work with Conte, right? But now that he's gone, now that we have Ange, now that we saw how we can play under Ange, how Ange behaves in the press conferences, right? I absolutely would never take Conte back, right? With all due respect to Conte, but his press conferences were so I never felt connected with the guy. There were one or two moments when I was like, fuck yeah, Conte, like good. When he was digging out Arteta before the North London derby in the like his first season, right? I was like, yeah, that's my manager. But with Ange, whenever he speaks, I am so invested, and I genuinely feel like from him that he is pumped to be our manager. Whereas with Conte, I sometimes felt like, and this is not only my observation, but many fans, right, that he kind of felt like he's doing us a favor by being our manager. Whereas with Postecoglou, it feels like that he actually wants to do well.
Yeah, you don't feel that distance between you and the manager. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's almost me too. It's almost like he was cold towards us. Like he never made me feel that warmth. Where Postecoglou, he just gives you a warm cuddle. That's what it feels like. You feel like you're being engulfed by him and the words that he says. Yeah, you just love him because everything he says, you're just like, oh, I just love you. I love the way you talk. I love the way you're straight down the line. You don't give me cryptic messages that I have to spend 5 hours trying to decipher, and I still haven't got a clue what the heck you just said. I haven't got a clue what you meant. You know, I love that he's just straight down the line, tells it how it is. Like that is my kind of manager. I like that. None of this cryptic rubbish.
There was a comment from King Hoddle. I loved it. It says, when you had it up earlier, whenever Big Ange says, oh, look, mate. And I love it. Whenever he starts off a sentence like that, you know it's okay. Don't worry. Whatever the silly question was, Angel put it right. Like whenever he said to the Spurs reporter, right, he said, oh, mate, results always matter. And then he answered the question. It's just like, the vibes are immaculate, man. I don't know how some people aren't excited with Ainge yet. I know he isn't like a proven winner, but you know what? I don't care about all that. I care about what he's doing with us. And, look at the tune he's getting out of some of these players, right? The narrative that, I've subscribed to the fact that maybe we weren't ready as a squad, as a club for an Antonio Conte, because Antonio Conte comes in, he's give me this really great player that's really expensive price and one more, and then I'll win you something. And then he's gone before the freaking sun sets. And so we all knew that. And when it didn't work, we all said, okay, well, yeah, we weren't ready for this kind of a manager. And you know what? I agree with Michael. The part of like, it felt like, you know, like if you're dating the super hot chick at school and you're just like, I don't want to mess up. But you're not being yourself. You're not doing what's true to you, right? You're just trying to not mess up in front of this highfalutin woman. And whereas in reality, maybe Sally was the woman for us and we found her. Hi, Sally. You may be average, but you're just right for me.
And
Before
also,
Yeah, go ahead, Mia.
Ange will invite you to the barbecue. You have a few beers, and he's the kind of guy that you can just have a really good chat with. Imagine his parties. His parties must be absolutely brilliant because he's just such a cool man. Like, he's just so relaxed. He just invite everyone in. Everyone's invited. He'd be like, come on, mate, come on. You're invited. Everyone's invited.
Yeah,
I'm glad that.
Yeah,
Michael. Yeah, sorry.
I kind of expected you to make a shrimps on a Barbie joke. You know, the typical.
I know. I tried to avoid that because he could also be eating souvlaki as well. So
Yeah, that's true.
I'm glad that we got to talk about a lot of the positive things, in this game, and we got to also touch on, kind of the goal conceded. I think we covered, most of the bases here, and we didn't get to make it all about Harry Kane, which is probably a good thing. But maybe as sort of a, my last question to each of you, you don't need to make it, a huge intricate answer or a really long answer of any kind, if you really don't have any sort of confidence either way. But if you got anything from the body language, if you are part of the body language police, if you got anything a part of that today, Harry Kane, is he staying or going? Maybe same order. Michael, did you get anything from today, staying or going?
Oh my god, like it's such a like hard, because you said like don't make it like too long, but I kind of feel like you can't really talk about it without giving you a 5-minute monologue, right? I will try, I promise, but I'm not going to be like a body language expert or or conspiracy theorist or whatever, right?
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, but for me, right? For me today, he looked invested. He looked like he wanted to, like he looked professional, right? Which is something that we always knew about the guy. Excluding that little period when he was about to go to City, but it didn't happen, right? Throughout his whole career, he's always been invested. He's always been professional. He always cared, right? So when I look at him like that, right? When I watch him, as you said, like, like running his fingers through his hair, being called pretty and whatever, right? I am like, God, please stay. Like, I want you to stay. But
he's really showing up to the cameras for you today, Michael.
Yeah. But you also know my stance that if Levy knows that he's not signing a new contract, right? Unless a miracle happens, right? If he knows that he won't sign a new contract, I still think we should be selling him, right? I don't want, because we have two ways that this can go, right? Either we sell him for 100 million and bank 100 million right now at this moment, and we can try to reinvest it into the squad, right? Or we keep Kane for one season, unless a miracle happens, he goes, right? But let's say we qualify for Champions League and do something else, right? Let's just say this happens, and we can get like an 80 million for qualifying for Champions League, right? Which is roughly like the same money, right? But by not selling him, you run the risk of everything going to shit, right? And us not achieving that goal of qualifying for Champions League, getting the money in, right? So if Levy knows that he's not going to resign, then I would sell him, because I would rather have a guaranteed 100 million euros, pounds, whatever it is, on the table, ready to be used, rather than risking it and and everything going into the gutter, right? Mm-hmm. So in that case, my stance. I would rather sell him if he's not staying, right? But I would love him to stay. Like, come on, he scored 4 fucking goals today. He was so elegant on the ball. He was so invested. I loved seeing him today, and I don't know how to react to it. Like, honestly, it's worse than a breakup. I kid you not, it's worse than a breakup.
Well, I think you're more confused. At least with a breakup, you know that you're broken up. I'm not sure, he gave you any indications today, but maybe that's why I'm asking Jacob here, who wants to read into it. He's going to put on the tinfoil hat. Did he give you any signs of him staying or leaving today? Did you get any extra clues?
So the fun part about Harry Kane, and I'm gonna go back to something that I don't know if everyone saw him on Hot Ones. The man is eating stuff that will make your intestines literally turn into lava, and he barely all he says is, "Well, that's quite uncomfortable." That's all he said. He didn't even look worse for wear. I mean, every other person that's tried the bomb, which is the hottest hot wing ever, literally is just chugging milk. All he said was, "Well, that's kind of uncomfortable. I don't know why anyone would eat that." And then he moved on. And
I think he even said in the beginning he doesn't like spicy food or something like that.
Yeah, he doesn't even eat spicy food. So I'll put on my hat. My hat says he did the whole "I'm leaving" round of goodbyes at the end. He did the whole walk, but at the same time, you could also say on the counterpoint is maybe he did that because it's the first game back at the home match, and the home fans at the home stadium could just be like a, "Hey everybody, welcome back to Tottenham" type thing. But the conspiracy theories that I like to run with, that was his definite goodbye. He's for sure gone. We were playing him primarily as a power move to Bayern to say, "Hey, look at your asset out here that you're waiting in limbo." Daniel Levy, let's not forget, they set the deadline. And what did he do? He flew to America to go to vacation with his family. Okay? So this is a guy that will 100% pull the alpha move. And I guarantee somebody said to Ainge, "Play Kane for as long as you like today." And Ainge said, "Thank you, sir." And I will. And that's what happened. And the only reason he got pulled off is because he bagged 4. And they said, "That's enough. That's enough. We don't want, Ukraine pissed at us because you're just keep putting them on them." But, I just think his body language, he looked uninterested in the first 10, 15 minutes. But then all of a sudden, it was like right before that penalty, and he scored that. Again, he scored the 4th goal, 0 smiles until somewhere in the celebrations of that 4th goal. Then he smirked. So I was like, okay, you got the hat trick, sir, but where's the smile? I need some of this. There's not a Tottenham badge right here, but imagine a Spurs logo right here. I need some of that, Kane. I need a little bit of this before I'm like, okay, yeah, he's staying. I mean, if he came out, there was a video making the rounds on ESPN, and it was some guy, I think for Atletico Bilbao. It was in the La Liga. It was Bilbao or some. It was red and white. I mean, this guy. After
Batiste,
match,
maybe.
Like, "Hey, sorry we couldn't get the win, but I just wanted y'all to know I've re-signed my contract." And everyone's like,
"Oh yeah, the
"No!"
Bilbao
I was
guy.
really
Yeah.
hoping for that today. I was hoping to see Harry Kane say, "Hey guys, I know I got that second half hat trick, 4 goals today, but I just thought you should all know I'm here for 4 more years." And then everyone just lose their. I mean, that's what I was hoping for. We didn't get it. But, he wouldn't have agreed to the move. He wouldn't have agreed to personal terms. Uli Hoeneß wouldn't have said if he lives up to his word, he'll join Bayern this summer. Like, this all wouldn't have happened if it's not legitimate, I think. So I think there is something to be said that, but as much as he may do the round, the whole walk around and clap, I don't think he's leaving. He's staying. Daniel Levy, everyone's seeing what he just did today, and they're saying, "Yeah, we'll keep him. I'll keep that man here."
And Mia, would you like to partake as well in the tinfoil hat body language reading, or did you not get anything from Harry Kane today on the cameras?
I'm going to agree with the fact that he is a very cool guy. Like, he doesn't really show a lot. When he, like you say, he was doing the challenge and he didn't really sweat, even though they were probably burning up his insides. And Jacob's absolutely right. He didn't kiss the badge. Now, if he wanted to prove something that he was staying, wouldn't that be the ultimate move to say, "I'm staying"?
This is the real body language, policing.
Yeah,
this is great.
I know I know it's a bit tinfoil, but for me, there's nothing more actions speak louder than words, right?
No, that would tell you, and that would convince you, and that's what you want.
Yeah, that would convince me. I'm not really into like when he walked off, he did the usual. He didn't look any different. When he he walked around and clapped the fans and waved. I don't know if he waved to his family or if he was waving to fans, but it didn't look any different to me. I couldn't really tell from that. But I'm with Jacob when it came
lap of honor or whatever it's
yeah.
called. Sorry to interrupt you, Mia, but he did like walking around the stadium clapping.
Yeah, he did like a walk to the halfway line to either side. I think sort of thing.
So for me, I don't know if because he does that quite a lot. And he does do the clapping the fans, but I don't know if he goes around the whole stadium. But I just, like I say, the kissing of the badge, to me, that would have been the ultimate, I'm definitely staying. Do you know? Like, I feel like that would have been the ultimate one to say to me that he's staying. But I still think he's going. Personally, I do think he's going. I think it was a bit of a FU to play him today to Bayern. I do. And even though it's a dangerous game to play, I don't know. I do feel that he is going still because like he could have there could have been other little things just to bolster it, to make fans, when they're singing his name, kiss the badge. People are singing your name, you're one of our own, please stay, Harry. Yet he's not patting the badge, he's not kissing the badge, and making out like he loves Tottenham enough to do that.
I think it's hard. I agree with Jacob that he's the guy that doesn't, he's good at not revealing a lot. That was his intention. He definitely succeeded. If he was just sort of playing it cool because he's probably staying here, I think he also achieved that as well. Like he kind of just behaved quite normally. It felt like also too. That's how I sort of saw it when I first looked at it, that he was sort of like really trying hard to behave normally and like try to behave like it was sort of a friendly and not it was a regular day. And it did feel like it was a bit of acting on his part. And that, right, he just wasn't going crazy on the celebrations. He acted like it was just sort of a goal and a friendly, didn't look completely soulless. Didn't look soulless, showed the smirk, showed the laughter, when scoring too. And then he does, a bit of the clapping, not too much clapping. I don't know. I think I think he is staying. But I think it was also him trying to behave, a bit sort of like, don't go over the top. Yeah.
But I don't know if you noticed, because like Kane wasn't really celebrating, right? But I don't know if you noticed every single time he scored, like literally 10 guys surround him, everyone copying his celebrations. I don't know if you saw that, but Sonny did it, Royal did it, like, Madison, I think, did it. Like they were all like trying to surround him, be all happy. And he was like, I wouldn't necessarily agree that he was like turbo, poker face, no emotions. I think there were some smirks here and there. But yeah, I
didn't see those smiles till after that fourth goal. That fourth
more
one,
like smirks, like like he scored here basically.
Yeah, like he's. I think his first one, I remember, like I think it was Sonny or something said something to him, and then he like sort of smiled, or laughed or like something. Maybe he just told him a funny joke. Who's to know? But I think we should probably take a page out of Brad Matthews' book as we're sort of wrapping up here. Big up to Brad Matthews. Says Kane's future at Spurs is in Levy's hands. If Levy accepts Bayern's offer before the Brentford game, he is off. Body language doesn't really come into it, in my opinion. I think that's quite sensible of you, Brad, but I usually don't go down that route. I'm going to go more into the body language and try to make an early prediction that I'll, look probably quite foolish.
I mean, it makes it for better YouTube, surely. If we all just sat here and didn't win, it's still in Levy's hands anyway. It just makes a boring YouTube, guys. We're trying to make it fun for you guys.
Mia, thanks for coming on, and I'm putting your channel in here. Thanks for joining us. Actually, Donovan Davis throwing in a super chat in here. Thank you very much, Donovan. And he says playing Kane 80 minutes and scoring 4 goals was exactly what Levy wanted, or hoped for at least. And your ultimatum to Bayern vibe from the club, but he's still gonna go, in my opinion. So a bit of both, like a power play by Levy, but at the same time, inevitably, he's going to leave, is I guess what Donovan is sort of suggesting here. Anybody want to comment?
Big up Double D, American brother. Big shout out. I love it. And I kind of agree. That's kind of what I was alluding to, the whole like power move, right? That this is like, you gave me a deadline. Guess what? I'm out of the country. I'm traveling. You send me an email, and you got the automatic reply, out of office till Monday. And I loved it. As much as I give Daniel Levy a lot of not hate, but feedback, I would say, not happy feedback, you got to give him his props when it comes down to our talisman, Harry Kane. the way that he's handled it, hasn't accepted no low ball offer, been disrespected. What have we done? We've just calmly gone about it. Everyone's saying, will he, won't he? Is Daniel Levy gambling on 100 million euros? Is this, is that, is, X, Y, and Z? We'll be playing this game all day, but I really think the cool calmness about it, I respect. Not getting bullied into a deal, I respect. But yeah, I think he mentally wants to go. He's also resigned to the fact that, yeah, you know what? I may just have to put in one more year and then I'm free to do whatever I want. And then it becomes a whole, well, what would you want? What would you prefer? What would you rather? And I mean, it's all silly, really, because it doesn't matter what any of us want or what any of us think at the end of the day. What matters is, what does Daniel Levy think? Is he going to say yes? Is he giving the green light? And thus far, he's remained strong. And I think to the people who want Kane to stay, they should be appreciative of that.
Yeah, as much shit as I give to Levy, I actually applaud him for how he behaves in the whole situation. Because I kid you not, like throughout last 1.5 months, I've grown a raging, aggressive hate towards Bayern and their fans. I kid you not, like I actually liked Bayern, right? I think
so you won't be attending Oktoberfest this year.
No, Oktoberfest is a bit different, right? But especially because I don't live that far away from Munich, right? But still, nevertheless, right? I absolutely hate how they approached the whole situation. I hate how they treated us. I hate how they behaved in the media. I hate how the media, German media, behaved in the whole situation, right? And I actually really like that Levy is not like, bending over and saying, oh yes, Mr. Bayern, please come take my best player, right? It's like, basically a fuck you approach, right? You treat me like shit, I will treat you like shit, right? Deadline? What deadline? It's my player. You can set deadlines however, like whatever deadlines you want, right?
I'm sipping mojitos in Miami. You talking about deadline?
Yeah,
I
love that.
He's very much, I think, like in Succession, he's very much like a Logan Roy, type guy where he's just gonna his ego cannot be challenged. If you challenge his ego or challenge like his sort of way of doing things, he's gonna absolutely try to kill you. And also in the business negotiation, even if he's the seller or the buyer, he wants to feel like he's the guy who's winning. He doesn't want it to be some sort of like, I help you, you help me type of situation. He wants to feel like he is the guy that's winning out on sort of the negotiation. And it's come to our own detriment more times than it really has helped us, I think, sometimes with Levy, the way that he goes about it that way. But it also, in this type of situation, who would you, if you really wanted Harry Kane to stay, if you're like a Dave Harris, let's say, this is the guy technically you want to, sort of have in charge of this situation, because he's going to be a real tough ass and he's going to be really he's going to hold on to him with iron grip, basically.
Yeah, I want to caveat what I said. In this case, I applaud Levy for behaving like that, right? Because in all the other cases, when he's haggling over like 2 million for Ndombele going to Turkey, I absolutely hate that approach, right? But in this case, with Kane, with our like starlet, I applaud him for behaving like that, especially with the mistreatment that we received from Bayern, right? And on, sorry, Mia, just let me finish quickly, right? And people can argue whether it works or not, right? But I would like to remind people that first Bayern offer was 68 million pounds, right? Now we are apparently, whether you believe sources or not, around like 100 million pounds, right? So it works. It kind of works. Like this approach of like, you mistreat me, 10 million more, right? You want the player, show me that you want like serious offers, right? 68 million pounds, piss off with that, right? Just not even entertaining the discussion, right? And he kind of brought Bayern to the table. He kind of showed like who swings the bigger D here, right? It's in this case, I applaud him for behaving like that, right? Sorry, Mia.
Yeah, that's okay. The only thing I would say is that we know that Levy doesn't like taking risks, especially with money. Would he really think that taking this risk would be worth it? Because if say Kane doesn't sign, right? He doesn't sign now in the summer. He doesn't want to sign. Then we've only got a few months before it's January, and he can then speak to clubs abroad. So there's only like a very small window that he has to risk. So in that small window, Kane has to see enough improvement that he thinks it's worth staying. Now, I don't think that can be achieved in that small window, if I'm honest. And I feel like, to me, that would be crazy risk for him to take, and we know Levy doesn't like taking risks, so that's the only
I think this
part
is the human. This is the human part of Levy that's coming through here. I think you're right, Mia, that he is a guy who doesn't like taking risks. He's more of a numbers guy, financial spreadsheet sort of guy who will make decisions oftentimes based on that. But I think Harry Kane might be a bit of his kryptonite. Clearly, he might be somebody that he actually thinks a bit more stubbornly about, thinks a bit more less about the numbers, and actually clearly has a real love and fondness for the player and for the guy in general, which is why he's probably fought so hard to try to keep him here. And maybe his, while he is very, numbers heavy, he's maybe a bit more diluted, you could say, on this scenario where he's going to be more narrow-minded or tunnel visioned on kind of how he goes about it. And it's often the case, I think, that, somebody like Levy, there might be one player, maybe one sort of thing that they'll just be super tunnel visioned on, right? And maybe he's going against, his own principles here.
Maybe. I just can't see it because he's never been like that over other players, and maybe Kane is something special, but I've just got this feeling that the business side of it is going to he has to think about that, because don't forget, he has got someone above him who has got to do with the dealings more so with the money, because he's not the majority, and that is their big asset. To let your asset go for possibly for free, your biggest thing that's worth the most, would be crazy. It'd be like giving your house away, saying, here, have my house. Like, that's, you just wouldn't do that, because financially that would be a very silly thing to do. So I just think I can't see him doing that personally. That's what I would say. Just quickly
on Jonathan Davis's comment here to Mia, though, do you agree with what he said, that it's a power play by Levy, to sort of, make the tabloids not have anything to work with, but then at the end of the day, he's still going? Is that where you kind of lie on it?
I do agree. I do think it was a power play. I compared him to Dr. Evil from Austin Powers. That's what Daniel Levy reminds me of. He's a bit of a Dr. Evil, but yeah, I do feel like it was a power play, and I don't think that gives us any kind of indication either way. Okay. I don't think I think he did it because if he didn't play, imagine the speculation, imagine what would have been said. Everything would have been Kane's not playing. So maybe this was a way of sort of placating that and saying, well, actually, we're going to play him. It might be a bit silly because he could get injured, but we're going to play him regardless. Sod you, Bayern, I don't give a damn. And then it doesn't, then they are going to still make the decision.
Alrighty. And Mia, tell us about your channel. Thanks for coming on today and having a great chat. And as well, also, what's coming up?
I'll be going over all my thoughts tomorrow on my live 8:45 a.m. I know that's early UK time. But if you can come and join me, come and do so. And if you haven't already subscribed, please, can you come over and subscribe? I'm getting close at 900 now. So then I've only got one more 100 to go before I'm at my 1,000.
Please, everybody. And, not as big a numbers as we, could have, to get her to that 1,000. But let's at least, try to get her to 900 first. Then maybe tomorrow, the next day after, we'll push her on to the 1,000 here, everybody. But big up to Mia. She's always coming on and helping us out when she can. And also, I think, offers that good difference of opinion, from what Dave and I can have in our little bubble over here on the Irish Hotspur for sure. Jacob, I'm also about to put your channel in there. What can we find over on United Spurs of America, my friend?
Sorry about the first half of that show the whole show really, because I was on my phone. Hopefully it didn't sound too bad. Hopefully it sounded all right.
Like what you had to say. It's even better now with the microphone. Now you're showing them what it normally looks like, on your own channel.
Yeah, Lazy 8 said earlier it looked like a little Jacob Unplugged. But the internet's back and cracking over here at Casa de Walraven, so all's good in the hood. I might have something a little later on today I try to bring something at least 5-6 days a week, and I took Friday off for my wedding anniversary, so maybe I'll put in the shift on Sunday night. I don't know yet, but yeah, go ahead and there it is. Oh, that's Spurs Between the Lines, but United Spurs America will be down there in just a little bit, and there it is. And go ahead and sub on over there. We just hit 1.7 this morning, so that was cool. Got 4 subs overnight. That was nice. So big ups to everyone who does go on over there and support the United Spurs of America. I try and bring at least one live stream or video every day, if not 5-6 days a week. So you got something going on there. Whether you agree with me or not, you think I'm crazy, that's cool. The vibes are always immaculate, and that's number one. So
that's right. We think you're crazy, but we love you anyway, Jacob.
Yeah, like
hey, that's all I could ask.
Back then. Yeah,
that's all I could ask for.
Laughing at me type of scenario. You know, it's a good place to be. It's good vibes. Michael, I know you don't have a channel as of yet. You're a busy guy, and you know you're going places. You know, and but you're plenty of work behind the scenes. You know, and helping us, and shows like this. And I do believe you're going to be a regular on these post-match sort of reactions as well. So people better get used to you, and they better start to get used to these opinions post-match. Any kind of final words or anything you want to say?
I'm excited. All I'm gonna say is like this preseason, and hopefully we'll see the same against Barcelona. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to watching some more football. My girlfriend is not, because like when I told her that the league is coming back in a week, she was like, "Oh, that's our weekend's gone." And I was like, "Nah, honey, come on."
Got it. Doesn't stop there.
Yeah, don't make me choose. Please don't make me choose, because I will just choose football.
Yeah, knows.
That's I think we will see. We will see. Like first, I need to find a job, then we will see.
Well, Michael, thanks for coming on. Thanks for bringing your opinions. And I just thought I had a good time. We even went over the hour, but I thought we covered everything and just had good chat, good discussion. Covered a lot of the bases. So everybody, if you enjoyed this post-match discussion, plenty more that are going to be headed your way, after every single match. David will be hosting them. I'll be hosting them, but the panel will more or less be relatively the same. But if it does switch up, we're going to be picking a good person to come on, and they're going to be expressing some, good opinions based off of the game and what they saw. And I think we had a good, sort of time here, just wrapping up over the game. Thank you to Donovan Davis, my friend. Thank you for the support, by the way. That does go a really long way in kind of keeping this channel going, as well as plenty of you other members that I've seen in the chat as well. Thank you for, supporting us and keeping the channel going. I'll give you a quick post-match reaction later for you guys. And also, too, if I haven't already received them, everybody who's that elite member, send in those post-match fan cams, please. I want to show those out to everybody else so that they can see what you had, to say about the game. So everybody who is an elite member, send in those post-match fan cams to me. You can send it to via email. You can send it however you like. If you have my WhatsApp, whatever it may be, send those in, and I'll share it out to all the members. But I think we'll leave it there, everybody. Hit that like button on the way out. Fan show tomorrow, too. And we will be seeing you in the big Ange we trust. In his pouch, we trust.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Cuss.
See you, everybody.
Everywhere we go.